Hey guys, back again. So let's continue on with my Prom Night franchise reviews, and now that I've reviewed all five of them, I will rank all five of them. And this is going to be a very controversial ranking, in my opinion. Like, a lot of people are going to be like, that's bullshit, why would you do that? Especially with what's my least favorite overall. But, and what's my favorite, because I feel like my least favorite prom night movie, my favorite prom night movie are going to be the ones that are quote unquote controversial, or maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. But let's start off with my number five, which would be Prom Night 4: Deliver Us from Evil. And I know you're thinking to yourself, why don't you have the remake at number five? To me, the remake is terrible. Yeah, it is terrible. But honestly, there are more things I could point out in that movie than in Prom Night 4 that I thought were interesting. I thought Prom Night 4, I immediately forgot everything about it. And I know that the Prom Night remake is generic as shit. Like, it's incredibly bland. But I could remember Brittany Snowe's performance. I could remember Idris Elba. I could remember stupid moments in that movie. In Prom Night 4, Deliver Us from Evil, I remember nothing about it, besides the fact that it was a killer priest. That's it. There's nothing else I could even... I don't remember anything about the characters either, and I know I've seen the Prom Night remake more than once, and Prom Night 4 I just watched for the first time, but Prom Night 4 was the most forgettable for me. So yeah, controversial pick, but Prom Night 4 is my number 5. And then my number 4 would be the Prom Night remake, which I just mentioned before is really bad. It's a bad remake. Well, I mean, it's a remake in terms of, like, it's on a prom. There's not any connective, like, story threads besides the fact that it's set on prom night. The original was about this person killing off this group of people who kept a secret about a murder, an accidental death. And in this one, it's about a girl being stalked by a guy who's killing because he's obsessed with her. And it's not the same plot. So this remake is not technically a real remake to the original, besides the fact that it's set on prom. And the remake, to me, is just so incredibly bland and dull and so generic. It is one of the most generic mainstream Hollywood horror movies I've ever seen. Like, it is immediately forgettable in a lot of aspects, except for Brittany Snowe. I thought was great. I liked Idris Elba. I liked a couple moments throughout the movie that actually made me remember this, whether they were interesting or bad. That moment at the beginning of the remake where Donna, Brittany Snowe's character, sees her mother murdered while she's under the bed. They lock eyes with each other, and the mother doesn't give away where she is a great moment. And Brittany Snowe's performance, I think, gives this over Prom Night 4, even though this movie is just incredibly generic and dull. But I can at least remember more about this movie than 4. So that's why the Prom Night remake would be my number 4 overall. And then my number 3 would be Prom Night 3, The Last Kiss, which is not as fun as Prom Night 2. It's the second film connecting to Mary Lou Maloney, the girl who was killed in 1957 and haunts the schools on prom night. Now, this one didn't even reference the fact that it's a prom night movie until the hour into it, and they're like, oh yeah, we forgot it's a prom night movie, Prom Night 3. Even though it's called Prom Night 3, they don't mention prom until the last hour of the movie. Until an hour in. And the characters aren't as fun and interesting as Prom Night 2, where, like, I really liked those characters a lot. I thought they were fun. And Mary Lou Maloney, the replacement for Mary Lou in this one is fine, but she's not the same as Mary Lou in Part 2. And this one is just kind of falls in that end where it's like, it's not the worst out of all of them for me, but it's just pretty... It's got some entertaining moments, for sure, but it's got some really dull moments. That's why Prom Night 3 would be my number 3. And then my number 2, kind of controversy, I guess, but a lot of people don't even love this movie, but Prom Night, the original Prom Night, is my number 2, which, the original Prom Night, I can give it these positives, that Jamie Lee Curtis is good. I like Leslie Nielsen in it. I think he's good, too. I think that the killer is creepy. I think that the kills are fine. But the movie just is really bland too. Like, it's bland like Prom Night 4 or the remake, but done in a better capacity than those two, in my opinion. Like, I at least gave a little bit of a shit for these characters in this one because these characters, they have an accidental death of this girl who dies while they're out playing in this abandoned building, and like she falls out the window and falls into a car and dies. And these girls keep this secret, and on prom night, the killer who saw this girl get killed, this guy who saw the girl get killed becomes a killer and starts killing all the girls off. And I think that gives it more positives than all the other movies I put below this, because this one, while being kind of dull and boring, it at least has good performances from Jamie Lee Curtis and Leslie Nielsen, and I think that the kills are fun, and I think that the killer is creepy. So I feel like it's got a little bit over the other movies I mentioned before this. So that's why the original Prom Night from 1980 is my number 2. And then my number 1, I guess this is a controversial pick too, mostly because most people haven't even seen this movie, but Prom Night 2, Hello Mary Lou, is actually my favorite out of all the Prom Night movies, because this one is this is honestly, out of all of them, the most creative and the most unique and the most fun. Mary Lou Maloney in this film is really entertaining, and this has a lot of vibes to A Nightmare on Elm Street, where Mary Lou is this supernatural being, like this girl who was killed in 1957, and now she possesses this girl, main girl of the movie, and she starts killing people off in these supernatural ways. So it's even a unique supernatural slasher, and I really like the kills in this movie. I like the atmosphere in this movie. The only thing this movie I think is worse at than a lot of these is that it's really low budget. It's unfortunate, because this director who did this movie, Prom Night 2, I feel like he had a vision to it, and he had like an interest to make this more than just a typical slasher, because visually the atmosphere and the supernatural moments are really cool and really effective, and I thought he had something unique on his hands, this director, who I forgot his name, but that's why Prom Night 2, Hello Mary Lou, is my favorite one out of all of them. I think that it's the most interesting, I think it's the most unique, I think it's the most fun, I think it's got great kills, great atmosphere, the characters are fine, and out of all of these movies, which none of these Prom Night movies I love, this one is the one I think is the closest to loving it. I like Prom Night 2 a lot. I think it's fun. It's very unique and underrated. I think that it deserves a little more praise than what it got. But also I can see why I didn't get much praise, because it's kind of low budget, and usually a lot of these low budget slasher movies just get thrown under the rug. They're not really, if you're not a huge fan of the genre, people won't really care to watch this or even know what this is. That I bet a lot of people who've watched my videos might not even know that there's a Prom Night 2, which is no big deal if you're not into this type of thing. I just like to watch sequels to every franchise, especially horror. I love seeing horror franchises and watching every single one of them, because it's interesting to see the departure of the first movie of these films, of horror films, to what they become in terms of sequels. I really think that's just a fascinating thing, because I really enjoy slashers. So that's why Prom Night 2, Hello Mary Lou, is my number 1. And that's my ranking of the Prom Night franchise. And tell me down below how you guys would rank the Prom Night films. And thank you guys so much for watching.